Is the real estate market crash finally happening? It's doom and gloom time here on YouTube. Seriously though, we got a market update for you.
There are some interesting things going on with the real estate market.
And we're gonna share all the data and local insights as far as what she's seeing with clients. Let's get started.
First thing we want to share is some very interesting articles from Florida realtors. And the first one says, while the number of pending sales fell year to year, they rose 0.9% month to month for the second time, sparking hope that the market may be bouncing back.
And that's interesting. It'll be fun because we're going to get into the data a little bit later in the video and look at, like what's happening month to month, year to year, like we always do, and see how inventory is looking, amount of sales, all that.
Next article reads, in June 2023, home prices were the same year to year, no increase or decrease, but they rose almost 1% in a month to month comparison.
So things are up micro, flat macro, and we've been saying this for a while. We've been calling for a market correction and a flattening, and maybe long enough of a flattening kind of is a correction. If prices stay flat 3 years, that's almost like having to go down real fast in 1 year. You know what I mean? So
in a seasonally adjusted month to month comparison, July sales were 4.4% higher than June's sales. Year to year sales were up 31.5%.
Which, that's what you noticed for yourself. It was a really, really busy June and July for you.
Yes, and I'm sure there is a lot of realtors out there too that had a lot of sales go through, which we always say on the channel too. Summer, it's the slow month in real estate. Well, this year, that was not the case at all.
Yeah, the anomaly. And what would you say you've noticed on the local level since June and July? How have things been as far as inventory, amount of places coming to the market, price cuts, just how many people you have trying to buy, all that kind of stuff?
I know in my office we have been very, very busy with a lot of people either buying or looking to buy. Late August going into September, we did see the market was a little bit slower than June and July were really two crazy months for me. But late August to September, it's been a little bit slower. I still have people, looking and buyers wanting to buy, but it's just a matter of finding a home that they like. Inventory seems to be going up. So that's good for buyers because a lot of times when inventory is lower, it's just not enough homes to look at and homes that a buyer would like.
Yeah, not much to pick from, and you kind of have to just go with whatever you can get, sort of a thing. So it's good when inventory builds and you have some options and you can kind of pick between 2 or 3. Okay, toss around the possibility and have choices. Everyone likes that. So first piece of data, new listings. As you can see, it went up, I'd say, over the last month and a half and kind of flattened out, but overall relatively low compared to where it has been. I think a lot of this comes back to what we've been saying for a while. Interest, higher interest rates. A lot of people don't want to list, downsize, and then pay more. It only makes sense unless you're really downsizing to the point where you're taking advantage of all this equity. And let's say, you paid $300,000 for your place. Now it's worth $500,000. You get a place that was at 75 and went up to, let's say, 150. That 200 equity far outweighs that 75 on this one. So you're coming out ahead. You can maybe go mortgage free. So,
and you would have to downsize in order to do that. So downsizing, if it's a second home, investors as well, if they have multiple properties, those are the people selling right now.
Yeah, and so with that, you can maybe leverage that. So now the interest rates don't really affect you, or maybe you get a really, really low mortgage where it's not as big of a deal having that 6, 7, 8, whatever, interest happens to be when you decide to buy percent interest rate. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing I think, and I want to make sure I point this out because we always talk about how, who wants to list their home for sale because of the interest rates. That being said, now is probably, in our opinion, one of the better times to go ahead and buy a house because I think there's a lot of pent up demand. A lot of people aren't listing, they're not buying, no one's doing anything because they're waiting for interest to go down, right? So right now inflation is getting under control. So what's going to happen once that's completely handled? According to most of the experts I've been looking at, we're looking at about 6 months max once they start to decide to drop interest rates, right? Well, when they do that, what is going to happen?
People are going to start buying.
Everyone's going to start buying. And I just think it's going to be maybe not on the level of 2020, 2021, but somewhere in between that and where it's at right now.
Yeah, I think there will be a lot more competition, maybe bidding above asking, probably not $20,000, $30,000 above asking like back in 2019, 2020, 2021, but there will be, I think, bidding a couple $1,000s above asking.
Yeah, so our opinion is smart move is, and you'll see in the data a little bit, go ahead and get a house now, because you can a lot of times get places for a little bit less than what they're asking. You have, more places to pick from. You can take a little bit more time and have options, and then feel like you're getting a little bit more of a deal, not dealing with all the pressure, the competition, and all that. And then when interest goes down, then you just refinance. Now, you want to also keep in mind, you want to make sure you can afford your house payment, assuming interest doesn't go down. Can you still handle that payment 2-3 years down the road, just in case? That being said, I just really don't see interest staying this high that long, but no one has a crystal ball.
Yes, exactly.
Pending sales, it's dipping a little right now. It's been relatively flat. Year over year, it's pretty similar to last year, so not much too notable there. Off market in 2 weeks, still relatively flat, relatively low, at least compared to like 2021, which is a good thing. That's a good indicator saying places aren't just on the market and gone right away. So like we said, right now is a good time. You got a little more time to decide and not worry that the place is going to sell tomorrow and have a few places to pick from.
Yeah, so you have more options and a little more time.
Homes sold, again, on the decline, comes back to a lot of the interest rate, but also you can see if you look at the last 3 years, there's a trend. They're all going down almost exactly the same amount. So nothing too, different there as far as that goes. It kind of starts to trend up right around when you get to the end of the year in the winter months, because in Florida, especially Northport area, Metro, Venice, Sarasota, people are down here and they're like, this is awesome.
Fine.
And they want to buy a house and not leave. New listing median price, it's on the decline, which is a great sign for buyers. I mean, that is awesome. It's been a while since we've really seen like a pretty consistent, steady trend. Last was of 2022. You can see if you look at the black line, from about spring to late fall, it kind of was going on that decline, and then it shot back up near the end of the year. I think part of that's because inventory started getting low again. Yep. And now it seems to be building back up, which you'll see in a second. Median sale price, this is a big one because the list price, means a little something, but that's kind of flat. But it's a little bit down from if you go from like spring and even just a few months ago back in June. So that's a good sign. And compared to last year, like you were showing in the article, it's relatively flat.
Yes.
So I would take that as a win personally, because with prices doing this for how long, this feels amazing.
And it feels like some people can now afford homes. In the past 2 years, it felt like a lot of people were priced out of the market. Then interest rates went up, and it's like, well, a lot of people now can't buy homes because of that. But now seeing that it's kind of just like staying and remaining flat, I feel like that's good news.
Yeah, and again, overall, I'd say slightly down. 458 right now versus if we just go back to what would it be, early April, it was 475. So that's pretty significant. Mm-hmm. So good to see. Days to close, relatively flat. There's definitely been some fluctuations, but if you just look at the overall trend, it looks somewhat flat, slightly up. So taking a little bit longer for people to close right now, a little bit less cash apparently floating around, but
which it's also good news for people because a seller is always going to pick a cash deal. If you have two offers that are the same, all things considered, and there's one that's cash, one that's financing, cash is always going to win. If you have a FHA loan and a conventional loan, conventional is always going to win. So to the seller, when they're making that decision, is like which transaction is going to be quicker, which one's going to close quicker, and which one's like almost like a done deal, because they don't want to, be a week or 2 weeks from closing and then the buyer is not able to secure financing.
Yeah, financing doesn't work, or the appraisal doesn't. There's all these little things that can happen. Cash, none of that's an issue.
Yes.
Active listings, that's remained relatively flat, kind of trended down, around the springtime, and then been kind of hovering at where it's at right now since July. We're sitting at 5,978 listings, which again is up significantly from 2021. That was 2,430-ish around this time. So we're almost double, actually we're more than double. And 2022, we're up from that even too. So good news for buyers. Median days on market, again, similar to days to close, but that's definitely been on the rise, which again, good for you if you're a buyer. Gives you a little more time to say, okay, if I don't put an offer today, it still might be there tomorrow. There's a better chance anyway.
Yes, just don't wait too long, because a lot of times you wait too long and then within a week the home is sold.
Yeah. Price drops, they're definitely on the decline right now. I think a lot of it is just because people have kind of settled into pricing things appropriately. When the interest started shooting up, people were still trying to get the crazy money yet, see if they could get it before, you know, it was too late.
Hit the market a little too late, yeah.
So this is the big one, months of supply. And as you can see, first of all, it went down significantly, and that made things kind of rough for a little while. And it kind of just stayed there. And right around when we got to late July, it was kind of peaked again. And then it went back down, but now it's also trending back up. So overall, I guess you could say relatively for the last 2 to 3 months, kind of flat with some pretty big fluctuations. I got a feeling we're gonna see that build a little bit more until interest goes down. And then I think that's gonna go down.
I agree.
It's going to be a double-edged sword though, because I think it's also going to be free up inventory too from people that are waiting. There's pent up people wanting to sell and people that are pent up waiting to buy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think
it could go either way, really.
Yeah, but I just think it's what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of people listing, but also a lot of people buying, and things are going to happen fast again. That's my speculation. Just because it's demand that's just pent up. You know what I mean? Like they've been wanting to or needing to move, and they're pushing things off. So I think that's going to create a little bit of a frenzy. Another big one, average sale to list ratio. So this basically tells you, can you get a deal or can you get a place below what it's listed at? And right now, as you can see, lower than 2021, 2022, it's at 0.97131. So 97% of what it's listed for is about what you can expect to pay generally. Keep in mind, every house is different, as she knows. You know, there's some places that are listed too high, too low, whatever.
If you're looking to move to the area, make sure to call, text, or email us. I am a local realtor here, 941-221-1897.
Call or text anytime, whether you're looking to move in the next few days or the next few months. We hear from people all the time, and we love it, and we'll always have your back.
Subscribe to catch the newest market update.
And live breezy.